Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. We're looking at what might be the single biggest economic headache of our generation. But today, we're diving into a surprising, honestly radical solution that two vastly different billionaires actually agree on. I mean, how do you even wrap your head around a $40 trillion problem? It's a systemic crisis so incredibly huge, it almost breaks your brain. Now, imagine someone stepping up and claiming they could fix the root cause of all this in just 5 minutes. Sounds like a complete exaggeration, right? No way it's that easy. Well, get this. Recently, the world's richest man, Elon Musk, threw his absolute, unquestioning support behind a highly specific 5-minute fix to this exact crisis. When a clip of this proposed solution was shared online, Musk simply replied, 100%, this is the way. Section 1, an unlikely billionaire agreement, the historic friction between two financial titans. Now, what's wild about this endorsement is that the brain behind this 5-minute plan is actually Warren Buffett. And that is fascinating because historically, Elon Musk has kind of mocked Buffett's methods. I mean, on the Joe Rogan Experience, Musk literally called Buffett's routine of reading financial reports super boring. But Buffett recently returned fire with some serious praise, calling Musk a brilliant, brilliant guy whose massive dreams actually have a solid foundation. So despite taking shots at each other in the past and having totally different approaches to business, it's the sheer terrifying scale of this looming U.S. debt crisis that has forged this incredibly unlikely consensus between them. They both see that the path we're on right now is just completely unsustainable. Moving to Section 2, the $40 trillion problem, the sheer scale of America's economic crisis. All right, let's look at the actual hard math that has these two legends so worried. $38.9 trillion. I really want that number to sink in for a second. According to the U.S. Treasury, the national debt didn't just slowly creep up here. It jumped by a staggering $2.6 trillion just last year alone to hit this total. Just to make sure we're all on the same page, public debt is, simply put, the money owed by the federal government to external creditors. It's essentially the massive tab that the country has run up on the global stage over the years. And to put that $38.9 trillion into some sort of relatable perspective, it equals roughly 124% of the entire United States economy. That means the debt is now significantly larger than the total economic output of the country. So the severity of this whole thing really boils down to this. Our public debt is now bigger than our entire economy for the first time since World War II. We're not just talking about a bump in the road here. This is a terrifying historical milestone. But you know what the real immediate pain is? It's the interest. According to data from the Congressional Budget Office, just servicing this debt, literally just paying the interest alone, costs over $22 billion every single week. That is money just flying out the door just to tread water, not even touching the actual principal debt. Section 3, Buffett's 5-minute plan. The 2011 interview that sparked a movement. Okay, so with the sheer size of the problem laid out, here is that exact secret fix Buffett floated over a decade ago. He said, and I quote, "I can end the deficit in 5 minutes. You just pass a law that says that anytime there's a deficit of more than 3% of the GDP, all sitting members of Congress are ineligible for re-election. It's incredibly straightforward, right? No fancy financial jargon, just a brutal, direct shift in political accountability." As Buffett explained it, doing this simply puts the incentives in the right place. The logic here is totally neutral and structural. Think about it. If you tie a politician's absolute job security directly to the nation's economic security, their priorities are going to radically change overnight. Suddenly, balancing the books isn't just about good policy, it's about professional survival. Which brings us to Section 4, changing the political incentives, evolving the idea for today's economic climate. So this decade-old idea from Buffett has actually been brought back to life for today's specific economic pains. Enter Utah Senator Mike Lee. He took Buffett's foundational concept, tying political survival to economic metrics, and applied it to a very modern crisis, inflation. Senator Lee announced he is actively drafting a constitutional amendment designed to literally oust every single sitting member of Congress whenever inflation tops 3%. Senator Lee laid out his thinking pretty clearly. He posted on X, quote, "It's better to disqualify politicians than for an entire nation to suffer under the yoke of inflation."
The core argument he's making is that changing the fundamental rules of the political game is just a necessary and far preferable step to letting widespread economic suffering go unchecked.
And bringing this whole thing full circle, it was actually Senator Lee posting about this push for a constitutional amendment and asking the public if they'd support it that prompted Elon Musk's viral endorsement. Musk replied directly to the senator, which of course brought massive renewed attention to Buffett's original theory of realigning incentives. Which really leaves us with a fascinating question to chew on. If the ultimate fix to a runaway $40 trillion national debt and crippling inflation isn't actually hidden in some textbook of complex economic theory, but is simply a matter of changing the rules of political survival, would you support this constitutional amendment? Is realigning political incentives the true key to fiscal responsibility? It is a massive question, and clearly it's one that some of the world's most influential minds are starting to take very seriously.